Hello everyone, welcome to VG's Astro. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the most ignored planets in astrology, but a very significant planet in Vedic astrology because it can help us come out of many troubled situations in life through the use of our intellect. Firstly, let's understand what is the difference between intellect and the mind. How is it different from the mind? To elaborate on this, let's first talk about the five senses. Eyes help us to see the world, ears help us to listen to sound, noise, music, nose helps us to smell, skin helps us to feel and identify through touch, but these sense organs by themselves can never compensate for the other. By which I mean, eyes cannot hear, ears cannot smell, nose cannot help us feel, and the skin can't see things. But the mind is so powerful. It is so powerful that it can actually do all of these things. It can see, it can hear noises, it can smell, it can feel, and do everything that the senses can do. Mind is a bundle of images, their thoughts, sound, taste, all of this. But intellect is what gives us the power to identify and distinguish between these things. Eyes can see a color, the mind can also project this color, but it is actually the intellect that helps us identify and distinguish between different colors. Without it, none of this would make sense to us. It's like a baby which gets overwhelmed when it is exposed to different colors and lights and it starts crying, right? Because it probably sees them as a threat. So, what does this tell us? It means that Mercury is a planet that can help us understand and distinguish between different things that the mind accumulates. So, Mercury can in fact help us with a troubled state of mind. So, that means even if your moon is afflicted by shadow planets like Rahu or Ketu, Mercury can help us understand ourselves by employing viveka, that is, the power to distinguish or differentiate between two things. So, even if you have a troubled mind because of Rahu afflicting it, if you have a strong Mercury, it can help you discriminate the Maya that Rahu likes to play on the mind and see through that veil or layer of covering and bring you peace of mind. So, in Shankara Vedanta, the power to distinguish is considered one of the most important qualities of an aspirant, which is called as viveka. The power to distinguish between the self and non-self for someone in the spiritual path. And Chinmayananda Saraswati, who was a known philosopher in non-duality and invented, or should I say, reaffirmed the stance of the Vedas by use of an acronym which is known today as the BMI concept, that is the body, mind, and intelligence. And he laid special emphasis on intelligence through this concept of BMI as if to indicate that intelligence is a completely different aspect of oneself and can in fact be cut off from one's own mind. So Mercury rules over intelligence and it does hold a distinct identity in Vedic astrology compared to the mind, which is ruled by the moon. And that is why we see people with autistic spectrum disorder who may have a messed up mind be highly imaginative or very good with numbers or mathematics because here the mind is affected but not really the intelligence. And intelligence pervades our everyday transactions in life, but it is oh so subtle that we do not appreciate how important this aspect is. Intelligence is not only something that helps us distinguish between and bad, or wrong from right, or finding a counterfeit note from an original dollar bill, but it is also what helps us understand different perspectives in life, different ideas, different ideologies, and the power to lead one from error to truth. So, though psychology is most often than not understood to be ruled by the moon, the science of psychology is ruled by Mercury. The science of psychology is, ruled by Mercury. In reality, moon is only a secondary karaka for psychology. Having said that about Mercury, to be the most important karaka for distinguishing two things, including the self from the non-self, in terms of spirituality, why then is Mercury considered weak or debilitated in the sign of Pisces, which is the natural 12th and signifies spirituality? The answer is that the sign of Pisces is a water sign and represents the ocean. But ocean is not just big and wide, but also something that has depth. So Mercury gets lost in the ocean of thoughts. It gets lost in imagination about what lies beneath the apparent reality of things. No doubt we are flesh and blood, but when Mercury goes here, one begins to think about what lies beneath the body and mind. So Mercury uses its razor sharp intelligence to uncover this truth, which is the soul. And 12th is also anything that appears larger than life, which includes the universe itself and its many mysteries. We obviously know about space and time on a very superficial level, but it is people like Einstein who probed the reality behind this truth and came up with space-time continuum and theory of wormholes and speed of light. But when you look at it that way, is this not a good thing? How can we call Mercury debilitated here? It's because Mercury is so lost in thoughts and imagination about the deeper reality that is not so apparent that it forgets to live in the present, to transact in the present. And Mercury's original persona is one that is highly alert by nature. It is very quick witted. It is alert to the present situation. It can sense danger. It can sense situations and how they are about to unfold. So basically, Mercury, which rules the sign of Virgo, where it gets exalted, it becomes highly calculative, very alert, very street smart, and that is why when you're running the Mercury Dasha, you would see that you're very much present with the immediate world around you. You feel very comfortable because you feel like you're in control of the situation. However, affliction to Mercury can make you lose track of the present situation. You do not have the presence of mind, or probably have a very short attention span. But with a strong Mercury in one's chart, without any affliction, and being in its own sign, that is Gemini or Virgo, or in its friendly sign like Taurus or Libra, or the house for which it is a Karaka, it does really well. And Mercury is a Karaka for many houses. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But before that, let me also cover some of the most important houses for Mercury. For this, I'm going to consider Taurus as the ascendant. Mercury in the first house is where it gets directional strength. It is very powerful here, which helps a person understand themselves and also understand other people because of its aspect on the seventh house. But the other side of Mercury is that it is a bit of a selfish planet. It can get very jealous here, and it also likes to take matters into its own hands. So here it can also represent being manipulative, especially in the first house or in the seventh house. And since the first is the house of appearance, I've seen many charts where the person who has Mercury in the first house is very attractive or handsome, but can be someone who is manipulative or someone who can give you trouble without even you knowing about it. So they're very good at covering their tracks. When you get on their bad side, you wouldn't even know what hit you and where it came from. So beware of people who have Mercury in the first house. Okay, I'm just joking. Mercury also can help one become a smooth talker or someone who can influence people. And that is why Mercury is considered a bit of a selfish planet, and also because it's basically commercial minded. And in the first house, it can make one's behavior almost always seem like they've got different intentions, like they have an ulterior motive. When actually, it's not always that they have ulterior motive, and that's one of the most misunderstood part of this placement, and it is also one of the flaws of having Mercury here, because they can't help be any other way. The other downside of a strong Mercury, even if it is exalted, is that it can give you disjointed thoughts because Mercury moves very quickly, it thinks very quickly, and therefore, especially when it is afflicted or in conjunction with the 6th, 8th, and 12th lords, it can give you difficulty in organizing your thoughts. And as strong as it may seem in its own sign, like Gemini or Virgo, where it gets exalted, I've seen charts where this can lead to stammering and disjointed communication because Mercury loves to jump topics. And the key remedy for this would be to streamline your thoughts through sattvic food. Remember, food has an effect on our body, our minds, on our intelligence as well. Never underestimate the power of diet. And that is why we have the distinction of uh, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic foods. This can greatly help a problem with stammering or disjointed thoughts. Even fasting can help you with disjointed thoughts. I also wanted to add a point on the Buddha Aditya yogas, which are worth noting in astrology, where Sun Mercury conjunction in the Kendras in their own signs is beneficial for strong intellect, excellent communication skills, and a sharp mind. So, with Sun along with Mercury, you would gain that confidence to speak and communicate what is in your mind, and that in itself can help with issues of stammering if you have one. So someone in their younger years with Buddha Aditya Yoga may have struggled with stammering, but later on gain that confidence as Sun gains maturity. Now for the karakas of Mercury, and for the sake of simplicity, let's go back to Aries as the ascendant. Um, now, Mercury is not just a karaka for the 4th and 10th house of home and business profession. 7th house is also the house of business partnership. So Mercury becomes important in this place because it is a karaka for business. 7th house also represents gambling, trading, currency, commerce. So Mercury becomes an important karaka for the 7th house matters related only to these aspects, not one's spouse. Mercury primarily rules one's speech and finance, crunching numbers, calculative thinking, trading. So it can be a karaka for the 2nd house as well. So people with a degree in accountancy or finance or those in teaching professions, consultancy, uh, can have a good 2nd house with Mercury in it. Mercury is also good for auditing, and Mercury in one of the Artha Trikonas, which is 2nd, 6th, and 10th houses, can also indicate one of these professions. So if you have Mercury in the 2nd house, you would also do well in all of these fields connected with numbers and mathematics, and also which involves some element of communication. But since 2nd is linked to food, the commercial activity of Mercury here can help you gain money through food business, through commerce, or carrying out any kind of family business. And someone in your family may have already done a business that represents Mercury. It could even be linked to transport. Although Venus is linked with vehicles, transport business is linked to Mercury. Mercury rules the nervous system and the 6th house in the natural zodiac order, so it becomes a karaka for one's diseases. So any disease that one goes through, look at Mercury's state of health, especially if Mercury is your 6th lord and you're going through dasha of the 6th lord. Things can become very tricky then, even for diagnosing the disease, especially if you have crossed 60 years of age. So Mercury is a karaka for the 6th house as well. Now let's circle back to Mercury being a karaka for the 4th house. The 4th house is not just about the mother. It represents the qualities and teachings imparted by the mother that are crucial for survival. From an early age, the mother teaches us essential life lessons like how to care for ourselves, not to rush recklessly, to be mindful of our surroundings, who to trust, and to avoid accepting things from strangers. These survival instincts, which start developing as early as 4 or 5 years old, established Mercury as the natural Karaka for the fourth house. It's our zone of comfort, and Mercury is all about living a comfortable life because he is, after all, the prince in the planetary cabinet. Mercury can also serve as a Karaka for the fifth house, as this house is closely tied to reasoning, logic, and innate abilities, qualities strongly associated with Mercury. The fifth house represents your natural talents and intelligence as a result of Purva Punya Phala. While the Sun is the primary ruler of the fifth house, Mercury plays a significant role in revealing the intelligence you carry as a result of past karma. For instance, Mercury can indicate a child prodigy or highlight innate knowledge that comes effortlessly to someone. This is why when Mercury gets activated in your chart, it can unlock abilities or insights that you may have been unaware of. Yet they manifest as if they've always been a part of you. So that is karmic intelligence. It's remembering what you did in your past life. That is really special. Even Sun can activate this quality, but mostly it's almost always carries purpose along with it, especially Dasha of the Sun, which can give a person purpose in life. Mercury obviously is a Karaka for the third house because it owns the third in the natural zodiac order. So Mercury can be extremely good when it is in the third house, which indicates your relationship with siblings and also your writing skills. But if you have a planet in the ninth house, especially a planet that is naturally benefic, aspecting the third house, that can really make Mercury, if it is placed in the third house, very, very effective. So in a way, print media is governed by Mercury because it is a Karaka for the third. It is also a Karaka for the fifth house, right? So if you have a strong Mercury, your communication skills are going to be excellent, even if you don't have planets in the third. However, if Mercury gets afflicted, especially by 6th, 8th, and 12th lords, there could be either a rift in the relationship with your siblings or you would go your separate ways. Okay, so we have covered plenty of houses. So what does this leave us with? What about the 8th house? 8th house is not a comfortable place for Mercury to be in. So Mercury usually does not do well in the 8th house because there's so much mystery that much of one's time is lost thinking about the mysteries or the future of oneself that the person forgets to live in the present. So we can write off 8th house from Mercury's sway, but Mercury can offer protection from 8th house situations provided you have an important yoga, which is the Bhadra Mahapurusha Yoga, and that can give one longevity or protection from difficult situation. For more on this, check out my video on Panch Mahapurusha Yoga. Mercury is also a Karaka for the 11th house as well, which rules friends, social network, aspirations, and gains, which aligns with Mercury's natural traits. So whenever you're not getting enough money out of your profession, especially business, or you're moving away from your friends or vice versa, look at Mercury. He is a Karaka for the 11th house. Remedying your Mercury can fix so many problems in life, and one of the most noticeable difference would be that you would naturally be in the present and more alert to the situation. Now for the juicy part of the video, remedies. General remedies would be praying to Lord Ganesha and Vishnu on a regular basis, which can help strengthen your Mercury. Eating green leafy vegetables can help strengthen your Mercury. Donating green gram can also help. But the specific remedies, if your Mercury is in 6th, 8th, and 12th houses and not favoring your ascendant, or you're not favoring your ascendant lord, you would definitely need remedies. If Mercury is in your 6th or your 6th lord and not favoring your ascendant lord, then this can give rise to many enemies, many diseases, especially related to the nervous system. So first remedy is to avoid alcohol or any substance that has an effect on your nervous system. If you have past history of alcohol ensure that you're getting the right treatment, and remember to take your vitamins to stay strong, because as far as I know, there are very few things one can do to reverse neurodegenerative diseases. If Mercury is in the 8th house or in conjunction with the 8th lord, this can give a death knell to Mercury. 8th is secret things. 8th is acts or deeds that we do in secrecy, like sexual acts. But 8th can also represent losing control of our senses, uncontrollable deeds. So, excess sexual act can lead to problems to Mercury. 8th is also addiction, especially when it involves Venus in the 9th house. So, let's take the example of Libra ascendant, Venus, Mercury conjunction in the 9th house can give you addiction from the age of 17 years. But if there is Jupiter aspecting this house or your Lagna, that could definitely save you or cut you off from addictive behavior. And since Mercury is a Karaka for many houses, all these houses are invariably going to get affected when in conjunction with the 8th lord. Goes without saying, right? Because imagine someone who has an addictive problem. It's going to affect his nervous system, probably becomes recluse, loses friends, cannot focus at home, cannot focus at work, can't focus on exams, debts keep rising, diseases keep rising, and the person can pretty much do nothing right. So the next time you're lighting that cigarette, remember that you're killing the Mercury within you. So one of the remedies then becomes avoiding doing things in secrecy or avoiding addictive behavior that compromises your senses. Sexual acts are healthy as long as it's not something that's excessive and addictive. If your ascendant lord and 8th lord are one and the same and it is in conjunction with Mercury, then it's important to not only pacify the 8th lord but also to pacify the 8th house. So what is the 8th house? 8th is dead people. So never speak ill about the dead, even if it is the truth, because dead people cannot defend themselves. So it is said, never speak ill about the dead, and if you do, it's going to affect your Mercury, because 8th house then becomes negative, and when 8th lord dispenses karma, it's going to be nothing but negative. If your Mercury is conjunct 12th lord, or in the 12th house, avoid oversleeping or sleeping less, because that could speed up your neural degeneration, especially oversleeping. So try to be in the present as much as possible. As difficult as it may sound, it's definitely not impossible. You have to consciously bring your mind back into the present. And also 12th is losses, so you could also think about charity or giving alms on a regular basis as a remedy for a troubled Mercury because of its conjunction with the 12th lord or being in the 12th house. Alright, that completes our journey with Mercury. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe below, give this video a thumbs up, and share this with your friends and family. I'll see you guys again with another new video.